What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today's video we are going to talk about behaviorally what our dogs should be looking like. Let's go ahead and break this down. Okay, so for those of you guys that have been on my channel since the beginning and have followed along throughout all of my stuff, when we're training on a dog, I have talked a lot about molding a dog into something, okay? So, and getting what we want out of a dog. With that being said, I kind of haven't really said what we want out of the dog because I kind of leave it up to personal preference, right? There's room for personal opinions to be put there. But with my training and the way that I train, I think there's a few key important things that we should understand that we need to be getting from a dog to be able to go ahead and move forward. Okay, so first and foremost, there's all different kinds of coonhounds, right? For one, there's different breeds. For two, there's different personalities. There's different lines and different traits that we run into. And some dogs have this, some dogs have that. Bred this way, bred that way. There's room for all these variables when it comes down to this kind of thing, but it doesn't really matter what personality type. So I haven't did a video on different personality types of coonhounds from what I've ran across. I can sit down and do that if you guys want me to. Just let me know in the comments. But we have all these different personality types of these dogs and different traits that these dogs show or express, outwardly. And it doesn't really matter which one of these dogs that we have. We should be able to mold a dog from whatever it comes to us into something, right? We should be able to mold it into something. And there's a few things that we can, allow for and say, we're not going to, rough that den out right now and just that can be left. But there's a few key things that we cannot miss when we're doing this. So if we go through the way that I suggest people train, number one, we can take any personality type of dog and we need to turn it into, if it's not already, a dog that is ready to work, okay? So just the way I talked about communication in the last video, just the way that we communicate with dogs and how that relationship is, we can build a good relationship with a dog to where when it sees us, it is excited. When it sees us, it is happy. When it sees us, it is ready to get out and ready to do work. When it sees the woods, it's ready to get in the woods. We need to be encouraging this behavior. We need to be training in such a way that when we show up to the kennel or we show up to the chain, the dog isn't just hiding in the doghouse, right? So there's a lot of different reasons why a dog would hide in the doghouse, but I think we all can kind of guess and have a good idea of different reasons why. But we need to be able to have our dog really excited to see us, really excited to get out and work with us, really excited to do work, right? And how we do this is all this positive reinforcement. So positive reinforcement is something that I kind of just threw on the channel as far as a word, but it's kind of just the way that we train dogs is positive reinforcement. You do a good job, you get a good reward, right? That is all that is. So through positive reinforcement and building a relationship with our dog over time, we can take any personality coonhound and we can turn it into a dog that is ready to work, right? So we have molded it in that way. So that is one of the biggest things that we have to focus on, right? We can't lose sight of that. If our dog isn't happy to work, if our dog isn't excited to see us, then we can expect low-end results, right? And some dogs, like I've said on the channel before, if they're going to do it, they're going to do it anyways, and they're not doing it for you. So you could beat on them all day, starve them half to death, and put them in the woods, and they would still tree a coon because that's just what they're doing, right? So that's aside from you. But I prefer to have a dog that is doing something with me, doing something for me, and doing what it wants to do. And then we're all happy, and we all get along better that way. So we're molding our dog in such a way that it has this enthusiasm to do work and to show up and perform for you and do what you want to do, right? And as long as we're on the same page on what we want to do, the dog wants to do this and we want to do that, and we got the same page, we're all better for it at the end. So that is one big chunk out of molding our dog. And like I said, this can work on any dog. And it goes to show that a lot of guys, like I said about the sieve, is we'll lose sight of a lot of dogs. There's a lot of dogs that are actually good dogs that fall through the cracks because somebody didn't just put that little bit of extra work into them. Somebody didn't take the 5 minutes to fix this little issue in them, and it would be so much better off for all of us. But another thing that we need to have here is we need to understand at the end of the day, there's some things that are definitive that have to be met to be able to move on. And so when we're talking about cage work or drag work, okay, we have to have a certain performance at the tree out of the dog, right? The dog has to perform at a certain level. And until a dog does, it's kind of just in limbo. And it can give you this or it can give you that. It can perform this way or that way. When we translate to the dog specifically, this is the behavior that I want from you at the tree, then we will get that behavior at the tree from the dog. And how we train the dog that we want these behaviors at the tree is by doing tree work, is by running drags, is by showing cages and doing tree work with cages and things like that. So one thing that I have always referenced on the channel, I think I've kind of done you guys a disservice in this sense, is that I've always referenced a good chop. Okay, so I reference a good chop as my personal preference. It doesn't matter because dogs come in all different voices, right? They can be yodely, they can be, you know, a nice ball mouth, they can be a chop mouth, they can be this and that, any combination in any which way, and also have these locates and that locate and work a track this way, work a track that way. That's all fine and good. But what I mean by, and I figured I would explain this out since some guys don't have chop mouth dogs, is or prefer chop mouth dogs, is that to me, when a dog hits a good chop, that means that it is totally invested, it is totally locked on, and it has given it everything that it can give, right? So a lot of dogs will start off with a locate and be ball mouth and then switch over to a chop as they settle in and as they lock down on a tree. Some dogs will just scream their lungs out and just ball away on a tree. So we need to know our dog in that sense. When our dog is completely laser focused and intense and locked on and just giving it everything that it can give, right? And I don't mean just, you know, hanging around, looking at it, not losing interest. We need a dog to be full-blown barking and fully invested in barking up the tree for something. And it's the same thing if we're doing leash back work. So if we're leashing our dog back and we're getting it rolling on a cage, or we're showing it a dead coon, or we're showing it a scent drag, when we get the dog to go ahead and bark, we always need the bark to go to that full-blown level, right? It always has to be letting loose. And once we get a dog that every step of the way that we need a bark, it is giving it its all, and it's giving everything that it has every time that it trees up, every time that it's running track, every time that it sees a coon or it smells a coon or it's striking or whatever have you. Whenever a bark is involved, we can get a consistent good bark out of a dog, and consistency matters. And I made the video about that. Consistency definitely matters, and it goes a long way. And how we can get a dog to be consistent is to not quit working it until we get what we need. And what we need is a dog to be laser focused, locked in, and going to town, you know, blowing the top off the tree. Running the track the way that it's supposed to run the track, working the cage very intensely, very locked on, not letting the cage gain an inch on it without blowing up, you know. And it's just kind of like, these are things that a lot of guys miss. A lot of guys will settle for less in this department. And I think one of the hugest secrets and the hugest things I can impart to you guys in unlocking a coonhound is its bark. Okay, so a lot of the dogs, their natural instinct is to bark, And even if the dog has a heavier natural instinct to be more tight-lipped or natural instinct to not bark so much, we have to get the bark out of the dog, and that is how we do it. And in my training, right, this is what I suggest, to work the dog until we get to this level. Praise very hard for that, so it solidifies. And then when we try it again, it gives us the same thing, and we try it again, it gives us the same thing, and it just carries on throughout. And we can get good tree work on a dog, and good tree work involves this, right? It is always backing the dogs good up with good rewards, good pets, good praises, good treats, getting stuff down to it, whatever the case may be. However, we're going to pay the dog. And if we always positively reinforce in such a way, we will always have the positive results in the positive way, and they will show up in the same exact way repeatedly and consistent, right? So that's the kind of thing. And if we're always dead set against the bad and we don't allow the bad, the dog will thin itself out to want to do the good, and it doesn't want no part of the bad. And when talking about molding the dog, let's get right back into that. When we're molding the dog down, so we're molding it down into a dog that willingly wants to work, is excited to work, wants to work constantly. Then we are also getting a dog that performs and works at a good level, a good high performing level. And then once we get a dog that is willing to work, ready to work, performs at a high level, gives it its all. Okay, so if we have a dog that is kind of ho-hum and it doesn't want to work so hard and it doesn't love getting in the woods and it doesn't love going hunting and it doesn't love this, when we cut the dog, it's probably ain't got a whole lot of speed on it, right? It probably doesn't do a whole lot, right? It's just fumbling off out there. If we can build the enthusiasm for the woods through positive reinforcement, when we cut a dog, they're going to peel out. And if we can build the positive reinforcement for a dog on the tree, it is going to blow the top off the tree. If we can build positive reinforcement for a dog doing well on tracks and giving what it's supposed to do on tracks, then it is going to give that same every single track. And I've always said this on the channel, our dog can be as good as our dog can get, but a coon can be as good as a coon's going to get. And they're enemies. They hit heads, right? The coon is there to give the dog a run for its money. The dog is there to give the coon a run for its money, and we are there to watch it happen or listen to it happen, right? We're kind of a non-player party in this outside of training the dog to do stuff, right? And I feel that once we put a dog through such a process and we get a dog worked so far along and we get so many consistent results out of a dog so many times, a handful of times, this many times, then we can be confident that the dog knows, and we can be confident to let the dog go and let the dog go do what it's trained to do. And if we can solidify the positive reinforcement in our hound when we back our dog. So this is one thing that I want to impart to everybody here. I don't care if I was in the woods with 3 world champion dogs, I'm walking to my dog, right? I will back my dog over any dog out there, any dog walking. There's not a dog in the woods that impressed me because I'm not worried about another dog when I got my dog in the woods. So that is the mindset that we need to have, and that's the respect that we owe our dog because it's out there giving its all for us. We should give our all to our dog. And like I just said, I wouldn't back a single dog that walks the face of the earth if I have my dog in the woods with any of them. I will back my dog over anybody else. And I don't care if my dog is worse. If my dog is a complete slouch, don't even do nothing. I'm backing my dog. You can back your dog. I'm backing mine. And that is just kind of how we need to lay it out there. Lay it out there on the line for the dog. And we have this dedication, and we have this mutual respect, and we have this dog that knows in the back of its mind, I have somebody that doesn't quit on me. I have somebody that will back me through thick and thin. I have somebody that is going to show up at this tree at some point every single time that I hit this tree. Now, that is a dog that will work for you. That is a dog that will work for itself. That is a dog that will give you everything. In return, you have certain due diligences and duties to that dog. Taking care of it well, feeding it well, keeping it in shape, keeping it healthy, keeping it hunted well, keeping it in the woods, keeping it locked in on its training, keep on positive reinforcing things, not putting a dog in a psychological torture chamber and treating a dog like complete mess for however long. And this video at the end here kind of got like a little bit heated about it, but that's just how I feel. And I think that when we understand where I'm coming from, that when we look into the training videos and we go through the trainings, we can have the same kind of mindset and we will net better results at the long run. Because if I'm training in this particular way, my mindset behind how I train, my mindset how I expect my dogs to perform, then it is a totally different story when we go to trying somebody else's training on it, right? I need this from you, but I'm going to give you this back, right? I'm not going to expect something from a dog that I wouldn't myself, back the dog for doing. So that is just kind of how it boils down. Thank y'all for tuning in. I'll have some shout outs in the next one. You guys get down there and leave me some comments. Let me know some videos that you guys want to see. Kind of running thin on the ideas at the moment, but I'm going to keep pumping them out. I thought this would be a great idea to do this video. I got a couple videos that I thought about getting out, but they're going to be like exuberantly long videos. They're like really cooked up, and a lot of stuff cooked into them. But let you know, at the end of the day, guys, thanks for tuning in. Get down here to that subscribe button, and let's get this channel built, and let's grow this thing. You know, we're growing hard. We're going to get that 1,000 subscribers soon. Y'all keep them treed. But there's a few key things, but there's a few key